Ever wondered about Yiddish drinking songs? Well, that's exactly what we're going to be discussing on this 181st episode of The Jewish Drinking Show, bringing Lekhayim to life. Welcome, everybody, to the 181st episode of The Jewish Drinking Show. I'm your host, Rabbi Drew Kaplan, and I'm joined here by first-time guest, hopefully I'm pronouncing this correctly, Rokhl Kafrissen.
That's great. Perfect.
Perfect. Okay, I was thinking I might need to do a redo, but all right. Rokhl Kafrissen. All right, so for those who are less familiar with Rokhl Kafrissen here, she is a journalist, teacher, and playwright, and winner of the prestigious 2022 Adrienne Cooper Dreaming Yiddish Prize. Between 2017 and 2024, her Rochel's Golden City column appeared monthly in Tablet magazine, covering the length and breadth of Yiddish culture, including, of course, something that we're going to be talking about, this 2021 Jews and Booze article that appeared February 25th, 2021. Of course, obviously, listeners and viewers of this show are very welcome to go and check out that article. In 2021, her song Kum Zu Mir, a Yiddish translation and adaptation of Jimmy Buffett's Why Don't We Get Drunk, was recorded by an all-star klezmer trio. And in 2024, the Israeli funk jazz band Milox released an album featuring another of her Yiddish song translations. Hopefully I get this right. Machen a Vayvarech. Breakthrough. Is that correct?
Machen a Vayivrech.
There we go. She taught 2 new classes on Ashkenazi women's folk magic and religion for the Yiddish Book Center during the fall of 2023 and 2024. And her classes and lectures on everyday Ashkenazi magic are a favorite with students around the world. So here we are. And so we're talking about Yiddish drinking songs, yes. Right? We are. All right. So I definitely know that I don't know much. Actually, pretty much everything I know is from that 2021 tablet article of yours. You're the maven here. So why don't you take us on a journey?
Let me say first off that I'm definitely not an expert. I'm not a musicologist. And there are people, I'm a little bit ashamed because I have colleagues, who are folk song experts. Mm-hmm. And who work with these materials every day, and maybe they would be the most amazing authority on this. But mm-hmm. You've got ani hakotn, right? You've got little old me. So I'm just going to kind of bring to you a couple. And the funny thing is that when you initially wrote me your email, all this time ago, I thought, I don't know, Yiddish drinking songs. I mean, really, can we make a whole podcast out of that? I don't know. And then I thought, I'm not an expert. And then I kept thinking, I was like, oh yeah, that one. Oh, right. And that one and that one. And pretty soon I had like a huge list of drinking songs. Here's the question, right? Is it songs about alcohol or is it songs for drinking? Those are kind of 2 different things, but maybe sometimes they overlap. So I've brought to you a couple different kinds that we're going to talk about. When we're talking about Yiddish drinking songs, going chronologically is sort of a little bit tricky because it can be very hard to pin down when a folk song was written. We might be able to say, well, we probably know when it was first published because the earliest, known appearance in a collection is such and such, right? Mm-hmm. But it's a little bit tricky. Now, some of the songs I brought you are, it's a poem that was written, in the 1970s. So we know, and then it gets set to music or whatever. Mm-hmm. Some of them are a lot harder to nail down. So mm-hmm. What I did was I kind of made some rough categories, one of which is party songs, which mm-hmm. I just think is really, really fun. And let me say, before we listen to, I think both of those songs have a Ruth Rubin clip. Ruth Rubin was a really amazing woman. She had a PhD, I think, in musicology. But she devoted her life to Yiddish folk song collecting here in North America. I think she was born in Montreal. And there's some really amazing clips of her singing with Pete Seeger on YouTube. She's just very interesting figure in the American folk song revival. So YIVO now has her archives, which is hundreds of hours of her recordings of people made in the 50s and 60s. So there are these little minute long, sort of live examples of folk song. And what I love about these 2 clips that we're going to listen to, they're very short. They're maybe a minute long. And I think that they were recorded at parties because the people sound drunk.
Yeah, that's great. Very fitting.
Both of these songs are about welcoming people. I mean, the lyrics are very simple, as we'll see. So why don't you play one and then we'll talk about the lyrics. This is Lomir, alemen, bagrisn.
Oy Lomir, the balabat in bagrisn. Lomir, the balabat in bagrisn. Oy Lomir, 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 the balabat in bagrisn. Lomir, 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 Lomir.
Okay. I think she says Lekhayim there at the end. So the words are very simple. Lomir, alemen, bagrisn means let's greet everyone. Okay. Alemen is everyone. And then with each verse, you include, either people's names or you see that they then say Lomir, the balabatim, right? The householders, the people whose house they're at. So the balabatim bagrisn. So that's very easy. That's basically all the words. Lomir, 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 alemen, bagrisn. Okay. And then we're going to go to the second song, which is Lomir, ale in eynem. Okay. And the words are a little bit more complicated, but not much. And also quite wonderful. So this is Lomir, ale in eynem. Let's all together as one. And what are we going to be doing? We're going to be welcoming people. So let's listen to it and then we'll talk about the words.
Lomir, ale in eynem, yanklin mekabel ponem Zayn, yanklin mekabel ponem Zayn. Lomir, ale in eynem, Lomir, ale in eynem, trinken a bisl wine. Lomir, ale in eynem, Lomir, ale in eynem, trinken a bisl wine. Lomir, ale in eynem, Hislen mekabel ponem Zayn, hislen mekabel ponem Zayn. Lomir, ale in eynem, Lomir, ale in eynem, trinken a bisl wine. Lomir, ale in eynem, Lomir, ale in eynem, trinken a bisl wine. Lomir, ale in eynem, Mikhl mekabel ponem Zayn, Mikhl mekabel ponem Zayn. Lomir, ale in eynem, Lomir, ale in eynem, trinken a bisl wine. Lomir, ale in eynem, Lomir, ale in eynem, trinken a bisl wine.
Okay. So
I'm not going to lie. I like the second one better, but I love the party atmosphere of the first one. That was fun. And there were a few drinks in, so it's even better.
yes, it's such great atmosphere. You could hear them kind of like arguing a little bit about like what the lyrics are. And the lyrics are like 5 words. So yeah, this is Ruth Rubin herself actually singing solo. And normally this is not the way the song would be performed. It would be at a party. And this is a song I myself have encountered in the wild, as it were, like at a function where all of a sudden everybody knew the words. And I was like, oh, I don't know those words, but you learn them and it's super fun. So Lomir, ale in eynem. So let's all together in one. And this is a great example of Yiddish periphrastic verbs. So mekabel ponem Zayn. So
Welcoming people.
Yes. Perfect. Right. It's nice to be with somebody whose Hebrew is good. Mine is not. So mekabel ponem Zayn means to welcome someone. So what you do is Lomir, ale in eynem, so and so, right? So Rabbi Drew, I'm trying to say it in Yiddish. Do you have a Hebrew name? I'm sure you do.
It's ironically Yiddish.
What is
my Hebrew / Yiddish name is actually Manis.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it's Manis. Manis ben Mikhl Gordon. So, but Manis.
Wow,
I was named after like a great uncle, and they're like, whatever.
That's
Well,
great.
he'll never use it, so it's Yiddish.
I love a deeply Yiddish name. And then you became a rabbi. What do you mean he's never going to use it?
That's right. Joke's on them. I'm just kidding.
Lomir eynem and eynem, Rabbi monis makabel ponim Zayn. Azoy. Azoy and azoy. Okay. Lomir eynem, trinken a glazel of wine. So Lomir, so let's all together drink a glass of wine, or she sings drink a little wine, a bisl of wine. So, depending on how deep in your cups you are. It's very hard with folk songs to know, or to say, oh, well, this is from such and such year. Who knows, right? A folk song is kind of a mysterious thing. Mm-hmm. And there's some good, Yiddish tales about that very notion of the Gilgul von a Negin, actually, is a famous story by Yud Lamed Peretz. So what's a Gilgul?
A reincarnation, yeah.
So Gilgul von a Negin is a story about how songs go through reincarnations.
Oh, that's cute.
And Eynem is a song that was collected by Menachem Kipnis, who was not just an ethno or a musicologist. He published collections of folk songs. His father was a cantor. He himself was trained as a cantor. He did many things. I mean, really like an incredible, one of these polymaths. And murdered in the Warsaw Ghetto in 1942, unfortunately.
Were there many pre-World War II recordings of Yiddish stuff?
Yeah, insofar as people had access to that kind of technology, which was expensive.
Yeah.
But we know, for example, that when Shin Ansky, the author of the Dybbuk, he put together his ethnographic expedition. It was on that expedition between 1912 and 1914 that he collected the material that he turned into the Dybbuk. Huh. So when they went on that expedition over those 2 years, they took with them sound recording equipment.
Hey there, I hope you're enjoying this episode featuring Rokhl Kafrissen on Yiddish drinking songs. I want to give you a sneak peek into our final episode before the holidays, which will be coming out in 1 week from this week, on the topic of biblical eschatological abundance of wine. Here we go. And you continue, says, swords will become plowshares and spears will become pruning hooks, vintner knives, utensils used to prune grapevines in the off-season in preparation for new growth. And here's the key line: repurposing weapons suggests the ideal political situation for viticultural activity, leading to the need for vintner knives to promote robust harvest. So I hadn't ever thought about that within a wine context. Right. Isn't that line like outside of the UN in New York? Like it's a famous biblical passage.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily know, like, what is a pruning hook?
Right. I hope you enjoy that sneak peek into next week's episode on biblical eschatological abundance of wine, featuring Professor John Dunn. And now back into this episode featuring Rokhl Kafrissen.
I'm going to play you Eynem. And what's wonderful about this song, this is a recording by the Klezmatics. The singer for the Klezmatics, Lawrence Sklamberg, for many, many years has been a sound archivist at Evo. So he has access to all these incredible riches. So he brings in all these gems from, the folk song collection. Eynem is the kind of song that you just want to be somewhere like pounding the table and stamping your feet and singing along. So it's a song about being drunk on Shabbos. Let's listen to the Yiddish. It's a man saying that the whole week you work hard, and then on Shabbos, you might have to go without something. You might have to go without horseradish, but you can't go without bronfen. Okay,
whiskey,
yeah,
or something, or some distilled spirit.
Yeah.
Einmal tu ich sich verneien. Einmal tu ich sich verneien. Ganze Woche wird man doch auf Schabbos darf man leihen. Ganze Woche wird man doch auf Schabbos darf man leihen. Weil leihen, soll man nicht bedarfen. Leihen soll man nicht bedarfen. Bei Shabbos und Reine kommen sich begehen, aber nicht an Bronfen. Shabbos und Reine kommen sich begehen, aber nicht an Bronfen. Hey, Brampfen, 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 das ist meine Flamme.
Bronfen, whiskey is my consolation, my nishto.
Da krieg ich meine Stamme. Oi, meine Stamme mit meine Komme, seinen da im Ganzen. Und als ich nehm a Kos noch a Kos, gehen die Fisel auf tanzen.
As I take a cup after a cup after a cup,
I
start dancing.
Tanzen, 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 tanzen ist Golach euch im Liede. Und als ich nehm a Kos noch a Kos, tanz ich mit der Siede. Hey, Mittagsiede, Mittagsiede, ist doch a Greise Aveire.
Dancing with a female pussy is a sin.
Nehm a Kos noch a Kos, hab ich nicht kein Breire. Zu tanzen, zu singen, zu springen, dazu tu ich Zeugen. Als ich mach a Schnaps, noch a Schnaps, bekomm ich klare Augen.
Each schnapps that I take, my eyes become more clear, in fact.
Augen, 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 hab ich klare. Und als ich mach a Schnaps, noch a Schnaps, komm ich ja bit weine.
So I take a schnapps and then another schnapps, and then what do I do? He says shahakoil, right? Like I take a schnapps and then another schnapps, and then I make the bracha that one makes over non-wine alcohol.
Yeah. I really liked your running translation. That was very helpful. But it's fun. It is, I really like that one where you have both the solo, but then everybody chimes in while they're drinking also. So it's a great vibe going on.
It is. It's fantastic. I mean, I think that kind of call and response thing is fairly common in Yiddish song.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
I did like his play about Nechama and Neshama. So Nechama being consolation, Neshama being one's soul. So like it's Shabbat. So this is the end of the week. Like, what you were saying, he worked his whole week. He needs that Bronfen or even the Schnapps.
Absolutely. And, Yiddish, it's a lot easier to rhyme in Yiddish than in English, frankly. So Nechama and Neshama, a very common rhyme. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. All right. So that's eynem. As they say, a banger. I mean, what a great song. It just makes you want to pound the table and, have another schnapps. And I don't even drink.
Next up, you've got ready for us is Wenn ich nehme bisl yash.
Great. Okay. So let me tell you about this. So a couple things. It started life as a poem by a poet named Yosef Kereler, who was a Soviet Yiddish poet and one of the, as we say, refusnik. He wanted to leave the Soviet Union and he was refused and he suffered for it. And then finally he left in, I think, 1971. He went to Israel. And his son, Dov Ber, was actually a teacher of mine and is still a friend of mine. Wonderful big bear of a guy, just like his name, Dov Ber. It's a great song, and I'm going to play you my absolute favorite version of it. Although today, when I was writing out the English lyrics, I thought, boy, this is really sexist.
Before that, it hadn't dawned on you.
Sometimes like, especially, it's in Yiddish. Like, I know what the words mean, but you're like grooving and you're not really thinking about it. And then I was writing it out. I was like, Do you want to give us a taste of the English lyrics?
Yes. So the English lyrics are. So here, do you want me to read it all?
As much as you want.
Sure. Here, I'll do some highlights here. When I take a little drink, everything sparkles and shines. I throw away the empty bottle and I start dancing. Later on, who cares about my mother-in-law and my wife? I know they're a nuisance. With the first little tumbler of wine, they float away. And then later on it says, Oi, daddy, sugar sweet, the dancing circle turns. All it costs is your worries. Next to nothing, so hop until you drop. When I take a little drink, I'm not the same. I throw the empty bottle and I dance a share. So those are some highlights.
Okay, great. And sometimes things sound really strange and wooden when they're translated because it makes sense in Yiddish because it rhymes. And then when it doesn't rhyme in English, you're like, why are they even saying this? But then you'll hear and understand. Now, the band that recorded this version of Yash is called Yiddish Princess, and it's friends of mine, and it's incredible. It's basically the first hair metal Yiddish band. And I have a feeling we're around the same age. You will understand the musical influences right away. Okay, hopefully this will work. This is Yiddish Princess singing Yash. And Yash is a kind of alcohol. It turns out it's Rosh Tevis, meaning yayin.
Saraf. It's burnt wine. It's distilled wine.
Distilled wine.
Literally brandy, but that becomes like a metonym for all distilled spirits.
Finkeltags und Glanz. Ich gebe auf die Puste Flasch und ich gehe Tanz. Was mir schwiege, wer mir weint, bis ich seh die Schwert. Wie mit Nerst in Keller schick fein. Schwimmen sehr weg. Oh, ich habe zu gesehen, hab mir bald die Hand. Bleibt im Bäcker, die nicht mehr brennt.
That was Yash. That was Yiddish Princess. It's Sarah Gordon and Michael Winograd, who are kind of at the core of that band. And Sarah Gordon, her mother of blessed memory was Adrienne Cooper, for whom that award was named. Adrienne Cooper, an amazing teacher of Yiddish song. She also worked at the Evo Sound Archive, a really, phenomenal human being.
I will say it is amusing, especially as you pointed out about the lyrics, because this is very like American rock band of the 90s vibe to it, especially like a ladies band, but then as you pointed out, it's coming from a very particular masculine perspective, so it's a funny mashup.
Yeah. All right, what do we have next, Drew?
All right, next you got prepared are Hasidic songs. So the first of these is Shoyn avek der nekhtn.
Okay, so this is a song that goes by a number of different names. And I'm going to play you a version by my good friend, Daniel Kahn. And his version is called Yesterday is Buried. And it has verses that he wrote in English. And there's the Yiddish. And also there are Russian verses. I believe that it started life as a Russian song. And then what's interesting is it got, as with many tunes, it got brought into the Hasidic milieu. And it became strongly associated with the Chabad movement. And there's actually video. You can see video of the Rebbe, probably in the late 80s, singing with, surrounded by Hasidim. And, they're not singing the words. They're singing the niggin, the tune. But the words are amazing. So do you want to give us a taste of the words?
Yeah. So here are all the words. Yesterday is gone and tomorrow's not yet here. There's still a little bit of today. Don't disturb it with worrying. Grab a little drink as long as you are alive. In God willing, the world to come, you won't get any. Be merry, brothers. Let your beards and coats fly. This is how a Jew dances in the diaspora.
All right. Otazoi, tanz da Yid in Golis. That's how a Jew dances in Golis.
Es ist nicht auch kein Nekhtn, es ist noch nicht auch der Morgen. Es ist nicht da ein bisl Heiz, stört ihm nicht mit Sorgen. Es ist nicht da ein bisl Heiz, stört ihm nicht mit Sorgen. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, hey, hey,
like the contemporary composition. That's very fun and upbeat. I can definitely see people dancing and singing, or at least definitely singing along with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. What do we have up next?
Very simply, de Mashke.
Okay, here we go. So Mashke, yet another word for spirits of some kind.
It literally means beverage. Like a beverage.
In
But
Russian?
I think in what?
In Russian or in what language?
Oh, well, in Hebrew. Sorry. Hebrew. So I shouldn't be speaking about Yiddish stuff using Hebrew. But in Hebrew, mashke just literally means it can be any beverage.
Interesting. I mean, in Yiddish, it can mean whiskey, probably some kind of spirit. Okay, what's so great about this song is that it is one man, the narrator of the song is one man narrating his entire life from even before his conception. Actually, Drew, why don't you give us a taste of the lyrics?
Absolutely. So the English. Actually, this is, can I just read the whole thing?
Read it. It's fantastic.
This is great. This is a whole story. So there's a journey. So when the matchmaker came to my grandfather to talk about a match between my father and mother, they talked and talked to no avail until a glass of whiskey was introduced. It's on account of the whiskey that the match was sealed, and my father became my mother's bridegroom. They arranged the wedding right away and drank whiskey all night long. From tall glasses they all drank in honor of the groom and bride. Due to whiskey, father took mother, and due to whiskey, I came into the world. I remember that at my circumcision, the glass of whiskey never left the table. The crowd shouted, Mazel Tov, let the child grow up to be a rabbi, and so I always drink a Rov Kos, majority of the cup, without restraint. I remember at my engagement, everyone drank like Gentiles, and they broke pots, and the whiskey never left the table, and it didn't matter that I was a bridegroom, and they all kept on pouring where I live out my years. I want them to place in my coffee a small barrel of whiskey close to the wall in a large glass in my right hand, so that at the resurrection of the dead, when I'm here again, I'll be able to drink whiskey in the first hour. That's great. It's a whole story about his whole life, even before he came into the world. Whiskey was there to make it all happen.
Amazing. And they say Jews don't drink.
That's hilarious. So, and I see that you have in the notes, this was composed, so we at least have a particular date to this, which is 1868. So it's really neat.
Yes. Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. So I included two so-called composed folk songs. Like oftentimes you will see these songs referred to as folk songs, like author unknown. We know who the author is, right? This is Mashke is Mikhl Gordon, I believe. And it's got an amazing sing-along chorus, which really is necessary. If you're going to have a good drinking song, it's got to have a great chorus, right?
Yeah.
And this version is by Dinaya Kapelia, which is a fantastic band. Love them. All right, let's take a listen.
Gekommen zum Zayn, dem Taten mit dem Ammen, Ashkenazi Jews. Oyet mir gerett, nur sie geworden ist. Bis das Gläserle Mashke
Unfortunately, we can't listen to the whole thing, but that's our chorus, and it gets faster and more energetic. And I've been in, settings where I saw Naya Kapelia play, and everybody's singing the chorus, and it's a lot of fun.
Wow. Hello, dear listeners. It's your host, Rabbi Drew. I wanted to break in right now and just say, hey, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate, or watching, however you're consuming this content. And I'm always open for new ideas, both for specifically the Jewish Drinking Show, whether it's topics, whether it's guests. I'm also looking for other resources that I can provide you with in the Jewish Drinking Project more broadly. Also, I'd really like to offer you the opportunity to sponsor this work. Whether if you want to go to patreon.com/Jewish Drinking, I would greatly appreciate it. And if you have ideas for swag, also, please feel free to send them to me at drew@jewishdrinking.com. All right, thank you so much, Lekhayim, and now back into the episode. Next up is Tayere Malke, written,
all right,
and in your notes, written by Mark Varshavsky, 1840 to 1907.
Give us a taste of Tayere Malke. So, Dear Malke, Malke is a woman's name. What's going on in the song? Tell us some of the lyrics.
Can I like the last one? It was like the drinking is suffused throughout, so I'm just gonna use licensing, my prerogative as the publisher here. Dear Malke, may you be well. Fill up the goblet with wine. Bim, bam, bam, bim, bam. From this goblet which gleams so prettily, my grandfather would drink, my grandfather himself. There would have been bad times, as sometimes happened, but I held on to the goblet with iron and steel. It would amuse all the children, as you know. From my father the goblet passed to me. Dear Malke, may you be well. For whom shall I drink this wine? I drink for the little spark of Jewishness that struggles and never tires. I drink to life without end. I want to drink for those who departed. I drink for my enemies, but don't reveal it. Look, tears are spurting from the goblet. Sing louder and louder, God, you are great. Malke put away the goblet. The song is ended. So it's throughout. It's like this intentionality about the drinking from this goblet.
Absolutely. It's all about the goblet. All right. This is my friend Josh Dolgan, aka SoCalled.
Famous SoCalled.
Tayere Malke, gesund sollst du sein. Gesund dem Becher mit Wein. Bim bom, 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 bim bom, bim bom, 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 bom. Bim bom, bom, bim bom, bim bom, bim badam bom bom, bim bom, 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 bim badam bom, bom, bom. Bim bom, bom, bim bom, bim bom, bom. Von dem dosigen Becher, es glanzt als so schön. Hat getrunken mein Seide allein. Bim bom, bim bom, bim bom, bom, bom. Ja, ba 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 ba.
But my biggest lesson of the day is that SoCalled's done Yiddish music.
Oh, yes. I mean, he's really into it. How did you know him otherwise?
There was an album like he came out with many years ago. He's had music videos. Like just general, like his, I don't know if hip hop is the right way to describe some of his music. Yeah, fine hip hop. Like there was that cowboy song, and then they're like, say Kaddish for me, like,
yes,
totally mispronouncing Kaddish, but yeah. So some of this, but like that was like a decade and a half ago. But now I know he's done Yiddish stuff.
He's done amazing whole albums of Yiddish. He has an album called Die Frosch, The Frog.
Wow.
A bunch of other stuff. He worked with, I think he worked with a writer. They presented a whole musical in Yiddish in Montreal.
Wow.
Called, based on the stories of Isaac Babel. That is the song from Fiddler on the Roof, To Life, Lekhayim. Okay, now, normally I would not include a song from Fiddler on the Roof, but this is the Yiddish version. And that is what I've included there is the Yiddish translation. So I think like pretty soon after Fiddler was a hit here in the United States and everywhere, you know what happens? Look, musicals get translated. It happens all the time. Fiddler has been translated into Japanese famously. The Japanese love Fiddler on the Roof. So in Israel, they made a Yiddish version, and it was done by a very, very talented, the translation was done by a very talented translator named Shmuel Radansky. I have to be honest with you, like for some of the songs, I really prefer the Yiddish because it's so deeply Jewish. And I wanted you to see the lyrics because you'll see, like, compared to the English, it's like, whoa. This is the Yiddish version of Lekhayim to Life.
Lekhayim soll sein mit Glück, Lekhayim. Lekhayim, Lekhayim soll sein. Lomir noch lebendig und freilich sein, weil wie am Eller sein. Lekhayim soll sein mit Glück, Lekhayim. Lekhayim, Lekhayim soll sein. Das Leben ist am Mischmasch für uns, macht es bloß als von uns. Lekhayim soll sein. Beiso macht ob ich hakecho, steht bei uns a Posig, freuen wir sich doch. Besser statt zu sagen Echo, macht man sich a Simche, will man Simches noch. Soll sein, Blick, Lekhayim.
Feels rich. So I'm curious, you mentioned earlier that this felt somehow more suffused with Jewishness, I guess, than the English. So what to you stands out, especially coming from the Yiddish angle?
Well, I mean, my God, the idioms that they use, for example, instead of saying echo, right, let's have a simcha. He rhymes echo and simcha.
That's good.
I mean, for your listeners who, are not familiar with echa, this is what you say, Tisha B'Av. His
Book of Lamentations. Yeah.
Right? Like, you're not going to get that. That does not appear in Fiddler on the Roof, right?
There's also is a simcha, die Freude is a Groß, heint lebst du morgen ois, Lekhayim soll kol sein, und macht a koise, darf nur a Große. You say like it's a party, the happiness is big. Today you live a whole day through. A toast should be a raise a glass. Of course, only a big one. It's nice. It's very. I zoomed in on the drinking piece, so it may not be the whole thing. I'm just glancing at it. Even just this one line where it says in English, drinks for everyone, but der langt alemen zu trinken, bring everyone a drink. It's like there's more of an action rather than just like everybody's going to drink. Here it's like, okay, we're going to make this activity and bring physically people drinks. I don't know, so it feels a little bit more active.
Oh, absolutely. Macht a koise, raise a glass, right? Because there's a lot of Lashon Kodesh or Hebrew words in here also that just gives it such a different flavor. Like a koise is not just a glazel or a glass, a kos, Dafka nor a groise. I like that they rhyme koise, right? So koise is associated with a cup that you drink alcohol in. A koise, a groise, right? What a great rhyme. Hotaponim, machatonim, right? Apparently, and in-laws, that rhymes in Yiddish. And then when the Russians come in, they say, Euch die Goyim wollen trinken euer Fläschel Wein, right? The Russians come in and say, even the Goyim are going to drink from your, bottle of wine.
That's funny because here the English is may you both be favored with the future of your choice, which is wildly different than the English.
Right?
Yeah.
In a mazel dikil show, like I'm saying, all the idioms are so deliciously Yiddish, where they are obviously not in the English.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
It sounds a lot more lively than the English
It really
version.
does. It's got so much more flavor to it, as they say.
Yeah.
Bracha and hatzlacha.
Hey there, I wanted to break in yet again. Although I asked for support in financial ways because it does cost some money to make the hosting happen and other aspects of Jewish drinking happen. So your financial support is definitely appreciated. And don't forget, you can go to jewishdrinking.com/donate. But also, another way of supporting the show and everything that Jewish Drinking does is also to tell your friends, tell your neighbors. If you like this content, if you like this show, maybe people also like it. So feel free to let them know, hey, I have this interesting episode I heard, or a few episodes, or whatever it is, or even a few clips. Feel free to share with your friends. All right, thank you so much. Now back into the show. I know that we've seen a variety of these. I'm curious from your perspective, because I'm whether it's these ones that we've looked at or maybe other ones that didn't make the cut for today's show. How would you, from your perspective, describe what you've seen or characterize in sort of the attitude towards these drinking songs, at least as evidenced by the writers and the people singing them? But what would you say is their attitude towards drinking? Oh,
that's a good question. I think in general, it's actually quite positive. Certainly, look at a song like Tayere Malke, where it links the cup to connection to one's family, right? To heritage, to tradition, to, triumphing or at least outliving your enemies. I drink for all of my enemies.
Yeah.
And by the way, I didn't say this when we were talking about Tayere Malke, but that song is included in the Haggadah for the third Seder that is done here in New York by different Yiddish organizations.
Oh, neat.
So it's really fun, towards the end of the Seder and everybody's, drunk some wine and you sing Tayere Malke. It's great.
That's fun.
So that's one, the Mashke, right, where the guy says, my entire life has been facilitated by Mashke. Look at that, right?
It might be my favorite one. Because it's hard to say he's wrong, because it's like, okay, well, it's even funny how that was literally the social lubricant to make his parents get together. Like, were it not for, I don't know, it kind of sounds like Diana, but were it not for, even though there's a matchmaker, nothing would have happened. Whiskey started everything, and it went not only his whole life, but before he was born and even after, he wants it still to be around. So it's, for me, it makes everything goes around. I don't know, is that common? Like, and I know that's just one writer, that's just one author, composer, but I don't know if that's common or just, I don't know.
What specifically is what common?
I mean, to some degree, I'm amused by the obviously positive, but clearly a little bit jocular of a perspective on the role of whiskey in his life. He's not saying we drink whiskey from sunrise to sunset, but just maybe at key moments to make things advance in one's life or to make certain things happen. And to some degree, and I understand it's not saying like it's with me every day, but at my special occasions, at my bris milah, but even at my, engagement, at the wedding, at all these very special occasions, it was there. It really helped propel me through life. But there's also a play of the jocularity.
Yes, it's meant, it's a little bit funny. It's meant to be a little bit humorous, but it's absolutely true. I read Yiddish texts all the time, especially now because I'm teaching all the time. These are not texts that are about drinking at all. It's just depicting, everyday people's lives. And all the time, there's so many moments where people are like, all right, well, we're going to have some bromfen and lekach and bromfen. So a piece of honey cake and bromfen. People had very hard lives, Drew. I mean, that's no Yiddish. Yeah, it really, we know that people's lives were very hard and they didn't have a lot of luxuries. Most people, some people had, something, but, alcohol was one of those things that people had, even if it was just on Shabbos, that made Shabbos feel special. Yeah. And I think that's really something to keep in mind. Were there people who were alcoholics and had drinking problems? Oh, 100%.
Probably,
and that's, in fact, there's a song, which I would not make you listen to, which is about a woman whose, husband beats her, right? And oftentimes there's alcohol involved in domestic violence, and that existed absolutely in Ashkenaz and in Eastern Europe.
Wow. It is, but I am fascinated to see the dark side of it also pop up too, as you just pointed out.
Absolutely.
So that wasn't ignored. Yeah.
No, definitely not. And look, you saw in the article that I wrote, there was this kind of perception that, Jews enjoyed alcohol, but they did not drink to excess because that was what the other people did, right? Mm-hmm. And, my friends who are klezmorim, like the younger generation of klezmorim who, learned from the older generation, they would say that, the older generation would say, well, bands, like even non-Jewish bands, would like hiring Jewish musicians because they showed up. They would not end up drunk and not making the gig. I would say on the whole, when you have alcohol show up in a Yiddish song, it's generally it's not stigmatized and it's not like, oh, I drank my life away. It's not the blues in that sense. Yeah. Even though, as I said, there were people who were alcoholics and there was domestic violence and such. Yeah. But in general, because alcohol was associated with these kind of sacred events, and sacred tasks like making kiddush at an engagement party, going to the Rebbe, of course, in the Hasidic setting. So there were so many moments and events where alcohol was part of sacred purpose, that a Jew was fulfilling their duty. And alcohol was just part of that, right? Like in Mashke, where, he says the shadchan came, right? And they talked and they talked. And look, a shadchan, my God, what's the first mitzvah, right?
Purvu.
Right. It's be fruitful and multiply. Yeah. And that happens because, alcohol comes into the mix. So this is something that is seen as facilitating our holy mission as a holy people. Really.
Yeah, no, that's really great. That's a really great characterization. Rokhl, this has been really fascinating. It's been entertaining and it's been insightful. Before we go, is there anything you would like to promote?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I have two teaching things that I offer. One is that I offer what I call supplementary Ashkenazi heritage tutoring. So it's
interesting.
Yeah. So if you have a 12-year-old who you're dragging, to their bar mitzvah lessons and their, whatever, if they want to learn a little Yiddish, they want to read some Yiddish Dybbuk stories or whatever they're interested in, it's tailored, it's one-on-one. It's a lot of fun. I've now had a number of students and we have a great time together. So that's my supplemental heritage tutoring. And also I run regular classes about Ashkenazi magic, about women's lives, folk religion, folk magic, that kind of thing. I'm doing 2 right now, 2 per week, actually. They're both 3-week courses. One is all about the evil eye. It's called Rooster in the Cradle. And the other is called Yiddish Gothic, 3 stories by Sarah Hammer Jacqueline. And you can find me. I mean, you can just Google my name, but you can also go to, I have a blog called exploreashkenaziculture.blogspot. And there's like a little contact me doodad there, and you can just drop me an email.
Cool. Where are those classes offered? Online or in person?
All online.
All online. And people can find out more at your exploreashkenaziculture.blogspot.com?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, with that, Rokhl, thank you so much. And Lekhayim.
Thank you, Drew. Lekhayim.